TG, man, fired up to get you in the bunker, bro, and have you on the podcast. I think the last time we chopped it up was at the Texas High School Baseball Coaches Association, and you were on stage in the damn Savannah Banana kilt talking about, I think, infield play, and I was like, this cat is a savage, man. The energy was off the charts. One of the best speakers that I've seen on the circuit at baseball clinics. Phenomenal. Glad to have you here, man.
Boom, baby. Thanks for having me. This compound is unbelievable here. You've set up an environment for you to thrive every single day, and man, I gotta say thank you to you, man. You've poured into me for a long time without even knowing it because of what you've shared. And I think that's the important thing we do as coaches is share as much as we can to make an impact as much as we can. And one thing I'll never forget that you did was at that Texas clinic, you know, I stole stuff from you for a long time, right? And that's the first time I ever met you, 2019, Texas High School Baseball Clinic. And you're speaking after me. And even though you were speaking, you still took pictures of me. You had a camera with me and you sent those pictures to me, and I never forgot that. So never forget moment. I appreciate that, man. You're a stud.
I had forgot I had done that, but that's badass. I'm glad I did that, but now I remember. But yeah, man, I mean, you brought energy on the stage. It was phenomenal. And that's what you do, man. I mean, that's who you are, whether it was at South Mountain, whether it's with the Bananas, whether it's with Bet on Yourself. I mean, you're a juice head. I love that.
Energy giver, man. Like, that's who you want to surround yourself with. That's what I've tried to surround myself with in every walks of life, you know, and I've been lucky to be around some high successful people, and they've made me better. And so viewing what they do, you know, you show up every day and bring that energy, and we love energy givers. And that's what we look for in the Bananas too, is energy givers.
Yeah. You know, man, a lot for us to unpack today. I want to talk about betting on yourself. I want to talk about the mental game of baseball, obviously, but let's get started with the Bananas, because I think if people have seen Bananaland documentary on ESPN, right, they've gone to the sellout crowds in Major League Baseball stadiums of what you guys are doing, bringing a different flair and a different energy and entertainment to baseball. So kind of give us, in your words, if you would, like your story of the Bananas.
Well, ESPN called us the greatest show in sports, and what we've tried to do since day one is be fans first in everything we've done. And so I think that's what the game changer is. It's a very clear-cut vision, mission of what we're trying to do, is look at the game and the customer service experience through the fans' eyes. What do they like and what do they not like? Whatever they don't like, quit doing it. I think that's a pretty easy business model, right? So what we did right out of the gate, Jesse and Emily Cole moved to Savannah, Georgia. They created the Savannah Bananas, which created a ton of buzz. And right away, they looked at the fan experience and said, what if we did all you can eat? Nobody ever did all you can eat with tickets. They didn't know how to do it, but they dove in. They weren't scared to go through the mess. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, maybe, is going through the mess. A failure here, a failure there. It's failing forward. We honestly test so many things, and we are where we are because we're not scared to fail and get after it. And so we had the all you can eat, and then it was open seating. So you go to a ball game, you can sit wherever you want, right? And so we've evolved a little bit since then, but in Savannah, we still do the all you can eat. And that's a pretty cool scenario if you're a family of 4 or 5 trying to go watch a ball game, and, you know, you don't have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to go do that.
Yeah, you're not getting the $25 hot dog. You're getting all you can eat, right?
That's right, baby.
You know, TG, one of the things that I love you mentioned there was like not being afraid to fail. I mean, I think so many times, even as a mental performance coach, I was a high school athletic director for 8 years before I went full-time mental performance. I liked what I was doing. I enjoyed it, but there was definitely an element of like fear to step into the unknown, you know, and you've created companies like Bet on Yourself. You've been a junior college head coach and uber successful and ran one of the best like mental performance educational programs as a part of that. So you seem to have used fear as fuel and just saying yes and taking action on it. So like, where does that mentality help you of embracing fear and using that as feedback?
Yeah, if you're not doing something that scares the hell out of you, I think you're wasting your talent, you know? And so like what we're doing every single day with the Bananas is testing new things that evolve us to the next level. Every single banana game show, we try 20 to 40 new things on the field, promos, dances with players, trick plays. We're not scared to fail. We could do one thing all the time and run the same show and be like, okay, this is good, and stay in our comfort zone.
Like the Harlem Globetrotters.
Like the Harlem Globetrotters. Yeah. And we get compared to the Globetrotters a lot, but the difference is our game changes every single day. We test new things every single day, and our game is competitive. It's not scripted. We script some of the entertainment pieces, like how we celebrate, which is, I think, a mental performance unlock of what we're doing, because it keeps guys loose, it keeps guys having fun, and keeps guys less tense because they're honestly staying in motion. So it gives them a better emotion,
Yeah.
all right,
Love
to
that.
prepare the game. And so that's dances, that's connecting with fans. And, you can't be afraid to fail. You got to jump in, and that's part of the learning process. But a lot of people are scared to do that.
Yeah, I love the idea of like some of it is scripted, right? Because it has to be consistent, and some of it is not. Right? Talk to us about, for the people who have never been to a Bananas game, how is that different than regular Major League Baseball? Like, talk to us about the difference between, say, Bananas and a Major League Baseball game for the casual fan who's never been.
So when we started, we were a summer collegiate baseball team, and we said we want to be fans first in everything we do, and we want to entertain. So we looked at all of the things, all the ways of the game where it might have been too slow or boring for the normal fan. And we said, how can we make this faster, more entertaining, and how can we connect more? Life's about connection. Everybody's trying to find their tribe. And I think the thing that we broke down is we broke down the wall between player and fan connection, where we created this tribe of people that love the Bananas. And what we do every single game is when the gates drop and the gates open, we're outside greeting fans, saying thank you for coming to the game. It's high fives, handshakes, and hugs. We created a saying called H3. So there's that personal connection. Where I think that's a mental performance unlock is, if you think about dopamine and serotonin and life chemistries, we are constantly being hit with dopamine and serotonin throughout, because it's connection throughout the entire game. So we connect with fans before, during, and after the game. We're signing autographs the entire time. We've got music playing the entire time. So in the past, being a baseball guy, you see chaos practices, right? Chaos bullpens where you're trying to prepare pitchers for the most crazy environment possible. Literally, that is our game every single day. And then we throw on, hey, we're going to do a choreographed dance. It's going to take you 2 minutes to learn that. Then you're going to try to throw a strike. So I think we're honestly creating one of the hardest games in sports, to be honest.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable, man. I love the emotion from being in motion, and the H3, which can be applied anywhere. High fives, handshakes, and hugs. Let's dive into, TG, the mental game of baseball. What is the mental game of baseball to you?
Man, it's playing pitch by pitch. That's life. Can you dominate every second of the day? And what I stole from you a long time ago was, what's your 168, right? And I know you're so great at that. And what I've seen high successful 1%ers do is really plan out what that 168 looks like their week, and then they go and execute whatever that looks like. So it becomes an execution instead of, at a young age when I was coaching junior college ball, or even guys now, it's time management and understanding, hey, I'm intentional about my telescope goal, but what are my microscope goals? What are my daily Zoom habits that are going to get me to that telescope? Because everybody has the telescope goal. Everybody wants to be a big leaguer. Everybody wants to be high successful in business. But what separates everybody is those day-to-day actions. And everybody can plan it out on a piece of paper, but who shows up every day? And the one thing where I think I've had any success is I've been able to surround myself with great people and somehow get in the room with great people. But I'm not the smartest. I'm not the most talented, but I show up every single day. And I've been doing that since I was probably 10 years old. And that's how I've been able to stick around. And if I had an impact or any success, it's because literally I just showed up.
Yeah, and showing up with energy. I would say too, right? You can't just show up and be a slug. Like, you got to show up and bring juice, man. Because as I say with our team here at Brian Cain Peak Performance, I'm like, energy is your edge.
Yeah.
If you're not bringing energy and your energy is not contagious, and if you walk into a room and then when you leave, people don't feel better and have more energy because of your presence, you're doing it wrong.
That's it.
And that just means you don't love what you're doing enough, I don't think, to bring that type of juice. And one of the guys that I saw really do that was Tim Corbin, the baseball coach at Vanderbilt, right? And that staff of back in 2006 when I was working with those guys, it was him, it was Derek Johnson, who's now the pitching coach with the Reds, and it was Eric Backus, who's the head coach at Clemson. And it was a team of energy guys. And I was like, damn, that's what it looks like. Yes. These are guys who just love playing and are playing at a high level. And I know, one of the things that you did when you were the head coach at South Mountain here, one of the top junior college programs in the country in Arizona, you ran like a 1-hour classroom session where it was really tied into not just performance, but development. And I think as a mental performance coach, we're always doing two things. I'm doing performance, like how do you compete one pitch at a time, but also development. How do you step into the best version of you and create systems that allow you to be successful on or off the field? Talk to us about kind of that curriculum that you installed at South Mountain and what that looked like.
So this is how it started. Back in 2015, I was reading a ton. I literally was in a small room, and I tried to buy 150 books and just read as much as I possibly could. And I ran across a book called The No Complaining Rule by John Gordon.
Sure.
I read that book on a 2-hour flight from from Phoenix to Oklahoma. And on that flight, it hit me is I was complaining too much. I was at junior college. We were a top 25 junior college in the country, but we weren't number one in the country. And a lot of it I was complaining about, we didn't have resources. And a lot of coaches around the country are dealing with this. Maybe it's NIL money or maybe it's facilities, but I was complaining we didn't have locker rooms and we didn't have all the scholarship money that some of the other JUCOs had. We had 18 $325 scholarships. The other JUCOs had 24 full rides. We didn't have dorms. They had dorms. We didn't have a cafeteria. They had a cafeteria. So I was in this complaining mode. And after reading this book, I go, man, I got to stop this. And the book says you can't complain unless you got two solutions. So it's about being solution oriented. So I said, okay, instead of complaining about all this, how can I make our guys better? Because I thought we were losing something on team chemistry because we didn't have a locker room. And when I played at Seminole State Junior College, sure, we lived at the ball field. We lived in the locker room. And all those guys we're still so close. That tradition at Seminole State is so close. And I thought we were missing that. So I said, I'm gonna quit complaining, and I'm gonna create a classroom session where we can literally get to know each other, because some of the most never forget moments or inspirational moments in all the teams that I've been on were when we were in the locker room sharing stories, real life stories about ourselves and how we were going to attack our problems or how we were going to win the day. And I said, we're missing that. We need to do that. So we created the Growth Toolbox. We did that in 2016 for the first time. And it was a 1-hour classroom session on Fridays at 10 a.m. And we started with goal setting, because if you don't know where you're going, you're going to be lost. You're just going to be driving around without a destination. And we would start with goals. And I think any coach or any player, that's where you should start, is you got to know where your mission is, right? You got to know where you're going so you can basically get in the car and drive that way. But the next thing that we did right after we said, hey, this is where we're going, we said, what's our time management? All right. How are you getting there? And that's where I stole the 168 from you. And I thought you would enjoy this. This is how I got guys to buy in. I said, okay, guys, tell me how many of you guys want to be a big leaguer? And everybody has it. Every dude throws that on there.
I mean, right, I still do.
I'm like, sweet. Yeah. So I was like, all right, sweet. There's about 400,000 guys out there with the same goal. What's going to make you different, right? And I was like, it's your time management plan. So Brian Cain showed me this. It's the 168 plan. Every 30 minutes out of the day, we're going to get on our Google Sheets and our Google Calendar, and we're going to map out exactly what we're going to do. So I let them do that, right? The next time management session we came in, so this is session 3, they come in, they have it mapped out, it's color coded. We spend about 2.5 hours on this. And then I go, okay, you guys got that? You think you guys can execute that and that's going to get you to the big leagues? I'm like, okay, cool. I need you guys to turn it up a notch, and I want you to do something that scares the hell out of you. I want you to put a time on this. I want you to say, in 1 year, if I don't execute my goal, something crazy is going to happen, like I'm going to randomly die. Now, that's crazy. A lot of people go, oh my gosh. But that's something I always put myself on. And when I was in high school, we won 4 state championships. I would do that exercise with myself all the time. If we don't win a state championship, if I don't turn around this dirt road in my Honda Civic and turn it perfectly, we're not going to win a state championship. I'd put myself in these random, not real situations, but it would change my environment where I had to act, and I had to act faster. So I was like, all right, if you don't achieve this by the end of the year, then something crazy, not fun would happen. And so they would go, okay, those 2 hours I was going to hang out with my girlfriend, maybe I'm only hanging out 1 hour with her. Instead of hanging out in the cafeteria, I think I'm going to go hit in the cage for those 30 minutes in between classes. So they started looking at it differently once the problems might show up if something negative happens. So that's a crazy scenario to throw yourself into, but it makes you act and move faster.
Yeah, it's creating a pressure to move, right? It's creating an urgency to move. And what you did there is you would call what I would say gamify. And gamify would be like with my daughter, I'd say, hey, CK, you think we can pick up this room in 2 minutes? What do you think? How long is it going to take? Yeah. All right, ready? Here's the watch. Start the watch. Boom. Put all the toys away. Come back. Look, see what time it is. Gamify. If I said, CK, clean up the room, it's going to be a fight. If I said, CK, can we do this under 2 minutes? You want to do it together or by yourself? You want to go by yourself? You want 3 minutes? Gamify it, and now it's fun. Right? So it's kind of that same sort of narrative that you tell yourself. Talk to me, you mentioned the growth toolbox. You mentioned telescope and microscope goals, the mental game playing at pitch to pitch, your 168, time blocking. Talk to me about betting on yourself and this company that you've created around mindset and around being able to kind of do exactly that, bet on yourself. What's that? Where's that come from? What's that all about?
Yeah, man, I grew up in small town, Ada, Oklahoma, 17,000 people. I grew up in the boondocks. My dad was a bull rider, so I grew up on the rodeo circuit, and he's crazy, getting on 2,000 pound bulls that want to buck you off and kill you. And so
perfect father of the Bananas manager.
That's right. Betting on himself for a long time. It's the rule of that is, it's not if you get hurt, it's when and how bad, right? And so the story is, when I was 8 years old, a movie came out called 8 Seconds about Lane Frost, one of the best bull riders of all time. He's from Lane, Oklahoma, and my dad got to rodeo with him a little bit on the high school rodeo circuit, and we went to the movies as a family. We sat at the movie theater. My mom's on the right, my little brother is on the right, my dad's on the left. And at the end of the movie, Lane Frost ends up passing away and dying in Cheyenne, Wyoming. He gets horned in the back by a bull, punctures his lung, true story. And I'm looking at this at 8 years old, and I'm like, what is happening? And I look over, and my dad's crying. And it's the first time I ever saw my dad cry in life. And so in that moment, I was like, I think I would rather get hit by a 90-mile-an-hour fastball than horned by a bull. So that was my trajectory of going down this baseball route. And so along the way of every single level of baseball that I played, from coach pitch to 10 and under to 12 and under, I would always play up my first year, and I was always having to compete. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the biggest. I was the smallest. I wasn't the most talented. And I was always having to bet on myself just to get into the lineup, right? And find a way. As I got through college, my background story, kind of keeping it short, my mom and dad struggled with drugs and alcohol for a long time. My mom died of an Oxycontin overdose in 18, and my dad struggled with, he's had 5 DUIs, and they're phenomenal people. They're awesome people. They've struggled with addiction, and baseball was always my getaway. Baseball was, the baseball field was my cathedral. It was my way to kind of get zen, kind of get my happy place. And when I started high school, I didn't know it at the time, but I was lucky to be around Eddie Collins, which in 2021, he became the winningest high school baseball coach in the entire country with over 2,116 wins. At the time, I didn't realize how good I got it. And everybody would look at those wins and they would say, man, that guy really knows how to coach baseball. But the truth is, he taught me way more about life than he ever did about the game of baseball. And he's pretty damn good at the game of baseball. And so I call him my hero. And so one of those John Gordon exercises is hero, highlight, hardship. And so when people ask me that, or I share that with our players, is Eddie Collins is my hero because he put me on the path of, straight and narrow. And hey, this is how you show up every day. That dude showed up every single day. So when we talk about showing up, I watched that dude work on the field 2 hours before practice, 2 hours after practice. Literally, you had to have your hair cut. You had to, everything was yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And that's different in today's world, but it was all about discipline and execution and respecting your opponent, but not being scared of anything. So it was always about betting on yourself. And we were a 2A high school, and we would get in 6A tournaments, the highest level of tournament in Oklahoma. And we'd win those tournaments. And the funny thing he would say all the time is, doesn't matter who's in that other dugout, they put their pants on just like you do, one leg at a time. And so we would get in those tournaments, we'd always bet on ourselves, and we were always the underdog. So I've been playing this underdog role for a long time. But where really bet on yourself started coming in is my junior year. I started working out at Seminole State Junior College, and I went there because I thought they worked harder than anybody else. They did morning weights at 4:30 in the morning. They would do burnouts. All these workouts, if you put them on social media, everybody would absolutely destroy them. But mentally, I thought I could run through every single wall and I could accomplish anything, even though I weighed 150 pounds and wasn't as talented as everybody else. But mentally, I was there. And I was like, Seminole's where I want to be, because that's where the toughest, strongest, hardest working dudes are. And I get to my senior year, I've got multiple scholarship offers to different JUCOs and some D2s. And the guy I look up to the most, Eddie Collins, I'll never forget it. I'm sitting in the Lida High School parking lot right in front of the basketball gym. He walks out. I'm in my car in my front seat. He's like, hey, Gillum, where are you thinking about going to college next year? And I was like, I'm going to go to Seminole. And he played at Seminole. And he's like, I don't know if you should go there. Like, you've got like multiple offers. Seminole didn't offer me a scholarship. And so he's like, I think it's better that you take a scholarship where you know you're going to play. Seminole goes to the World Series every year. They win 50 games a year, and they have over 10 guys drafted. And back then it was draft and follows. This was 06, 07. And he was like, you need to go somewhere where you can play, and they're going to give you scholarship. And I never saw it that way. I never saw it that way. I wanted to be in environments where I knew I was going to get better. It wasn't about playing. It was about what's your day-to-day, what's your microscope goals, your Zoom habits. How are they training? How are they working out? And what intrigued me was a lot of people didn't want to go to Seminole because they heard all the horror stories of how it was boot camp and they worked too hard and they wake up at 4:30 in the morning. And I'm like, sweet, that's the room I want to be in. And so I chose to go to Seminole. That was my first bet on yourself. They didn't offer me a scholarship. I was full financial aid. We didn't have a whole lot of money, so I had government assisted money. And I'm Chickasaw Indian. I'm Native American, so they were able to help me with some books and tuition too as well. And so I went there for free on those types of scholarships, but I didn't have a baseball scholarship. In today's world, nobody on social media says that. Everybody says, go where you're going to play, go where you're going to go get the most amount of money, especially in this NIL world. I chose where I thought I could develop the most. And so I wanted to be in that room and network with those people and work hard with those people. So I get to Seminole. That was my first bet on yourself story. I get to Seminole. We have 12 draft and follows. Tyler Gillum is not one of those dudes, man. I'm 150 pounds soaking wet. I couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat. I could play defense. I could turn a double play. And that was what I was really good at, but I was really good at showing up. So we had 43 guys that first fall. 43 guys, 12 of them are draft and follows. We led the country in strikeouts that year. Our number 5 arm ended up getting to the big leagues. Jeremy Hefner, he's the pitching coach with the Mets right now. I go there and we have 16 guys quit that fall. It was so hard. Everybody quit. They didn't have to cut one guy. So I just outlasted everybody. So my bet on yourself story is showing up, energy giver, work harder than everybody else, and try to outlast, right? And so that was my first story. And going through it a little bit more in 2017, I was listening to Entree Leadership Podcast by Dave Ramsey. There was a business leader on there, and he said, I never achieved any of my goals until I started focusing on impacting people. And also, I read a book that said you should set goals that scare the hell out of you. And 2017, January 17th, 2017, I wrote on my whiteboard, I want to have a positive impact on 1 million people through baseball, education, and exercise. And with that goal, that's been my North Star since 2017. And we've been betting ourselves with the Bananas and along this journey, and kind of a cool number. Everybody was like, oh, that's stupid. That's crazy. That's never going to show up. All the naysayers out there and critics, and cool, that's fuel. Along this journey, you just focus on impacting one person a day. And I would say eventually it's going to show up somehow, some way. In 2024, our last game of our Banana Ball tour, Miami Marlins Stadium, we sell it out. And that was, we surpassed 1 million fans on the 2024 tour. So that was one way it showed up. So it's cool. So we're still on that journey.
Yeah, love that. I'd say add a 0 to that. Make it 10 million.
That's actually the 10X goal of this year.
Yeah.
So I changed that goal, and that's what I'm trying to do. Go 10X, Bet on Yourself podcast. I'm giving out Bet on Yourself gloves around the country. I'm trying to give out 66 this year. We gave out 25 last year. I've got Bet on Yourself sweaters and shirts. All the proceeds go to buying baseball gloves for kids on tour, man. And so we're just trying to inspire the next people that I feel like I got to give back. The game's given me so much. And so in life, it's all about impacting other people.
And you guys sell out the Miami Marlins Stadium. Like the Savannah Bananas have gone from being a college summer team to selling out Major League Baseball stadiums. Yeah. I mean, I've looked at out here in Arizona, right where we're recording this, where we both live, and the spring training complex. You guys played a game at Sloan, the home of the Chicago Cubs, sold out, right? You're playing at different places, Glendale, sold out. Like, you guys are selling out. You're selling out Major League Baseball stadiums. The Marlins aren't doing that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what does 2025 look like for the Bananas?
Yeah, so we set goals that scare the hell out of us. We live in the future, right? So one of the things that we say often is we live in the clouds, but we're also in the dirt at the same time, right? We're thinking 5-year plans, but we're also in the dirt, in the trenches, getting things done every single day, testing things, going through the failure, going through the mess, figuring out how to evolve. And so our goal in the future is we want to reach 1 billion fans. That's literally our goal, is to reach 1 billion fans. And so in 2025, we have 17 major league stadiums. We're going to play in 4 football stadiums. 3 of those are NFL stadiums. We're going to be in over 40 cities this year, and we're going to have over 2 million fans on the Banana Ball tour. So our goals are crazy. Our fans are probably crazier. We've got 3 million fans on the wait list to get tickets. So
3 million fans on the wait list to get tickets.
Yes. And so that wait list has grown, and really one of our biggest friction points and problems right now is to play in bigger stadiums so we can get all these fans to games, and that's what we're trying to do.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I've had guys I've worked with in college, right, that have gone on and played for the Bananas and talking about, you know, how much they love it. And Ryan Kellogg, a guy from Arizona State, right, played in the league for a little bit, and with you guys, like, from a baseball standpoint, how much different is it from a mental game standpoint for guys playing for the Bananas versus playing for like their college or pro team?
So when we started in 2016, we were doing these things that nobody else was doing. So we were having to convince players to get them to buy in, to do a player dance in the middle of the 2nd inning. So our owner, Jesse Cole, basically what he evaluated was he was in a small market in Gastonia in the CPL, Coastal Plain League, and it was hard to get fans there. And what he noticed was he wasn't in the baseball arena. He was in the entertainment business. So he had to figure out how to get fans there. And so one of those things that he did was have players dance, right? So a lot of our guys dance. So if you know Ryan Kellogg, you wouldn't think that guy initially would be a guy that would get out there and dance. But I'll tell you what. And I had
maybe at 2 a.m. on Mill Avenue, but I mean, not on a baseball field.
I'm sure he spent enough time on Mill Ave at ASU. But I tell you what, Ryan Kellogg, I had probably 4 or 5 coaches tell me, I don't know if Kellogg's going to fit into what Bananaland is or what the Bananas are. Ryan Kellogg has one of the best solo dances in 2023, Milwaukee. He did the entire dance from Napoleon Dynamite. He dressed up like he threw 6 innings. At the end of the 6th inning, he gets behind the mound and he does the entire like 2-3 minute dance, solo dance of Napoleon Dynamite, and absolutely killed it. And so what the environment does, though, I think that's different, is it gets you out of your comfort zone, which we're all trying to do as coaches, get them out of their comfort zone. And it puts them in an environment where they're not sitting around motionless, thinking about, oh, I hope this goes well. I hope this doesn't go well. And they're kind of have monkey brain where a lot of guys struggle mental performance-wise. Now they're thinking about going to impact a fan. They're going to the stands to hand out a rose to a little girl. They're throwing T-shirts in the stands. They are on the mic doing something crazy, singing, dancing. And I think it makes them perform better, to be honest with you. And the reason why I think that we started in summer collegiate baseball, we had a mathematician, a professor from Georgia Southern, come out and do all the statistics of every team in the CPO. And what he found in his statistics, that all the banana players played better than their college stats. And that usually doesn't happen in the summer because it's wood bat. And literally he found out that you play better when you're wearing a Bananas uniform. But I think there's some secrets to that success. It's we keep things fun. We focus on, we get out of our internal problems and we get external with it. And we think about others. We think about our teammates. H3, high five, handshakes. There's the power of touch, right? And if you strike out, you don't have time to sit on the bench and soak. You have to get your butt on the field with the speed of banana ball. Banana ball is so fast. It happens quick. The fastest inning banana ball is 46 seconds. The fastest strikeout in banana ball is 8.6 seconds. So you're constantly moving. And so that's why I think motion keeps a good emotion, right? Instead of being down in the dumps. And you know what Ken Revisa taught us and you taught us is figure out how to flush it, right? When Cal State Fullerton, put that into play back in the day, I think our flush it is, hey, you got to get back on the field and interact with the fan. You got to H3, high five, handshake, connect. You have to go do a dance. You have to go sing. That's what it looks like. So that's where the motion turns our emotion.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, like, if you're listening to this and you have not gone and looked at the Bananas website. I mean, I'm looking at like the player baseball cards on the website here and what these guys are doing. I mean, this is unbelievable, man.
Whatever's normal, do the exact opposite.
It's unbelievable. And I think when you talk about motion creates emotion, movement changes mood, action changes attitudes. How quickly can you pour into your teammates? How quickly can you focus on somebody else, right? And there's so many professional baseball players that, and I understand why they do. They just ignore fans because of the negativity, because of the criticism, because they're locked into what they're doing. They ignore fans. I had Michael Cuddyer on a podcast, former batting champion, Colorado Rockies. And one of the things he said was when he was in high school, he, was a big time prospect, first round pick, felt some pressure. And I want to say there was a moment where he kind of like had a little blow up, throw a helmet, bat, whatever it was. And his coach said to him, "Hey, Cuddy, I want you to see all these kids that are here watching you, all these kids that are here for this game. You want to know why they're here? They're here to see you. So they're watching what you're doing, and you have no idea butterfly effect of the ripples that will extend into these guys' lives. So how you handle adversity is probably how they're going to do it. How you handle success is probably how they're going to do it." Yeah. He said, "So what I want you to do before games moving forward is I want you to take a baseball and I want you to sign it. And I want you to walk and find a kid who's never seen you play before. And I want you to hand him that ball. And I want you to have a little moment of connection. And what that's going to do is create accountability on you as you're playing this game, that all eyes are on you. How do you want to come across?" Yeah. And I believe it was when he was in high school. It may have been when he was in the minor leagues. But that moment for Cuddy, he said, completely changed his ability in the mental game to like play with a different purpose. And he called it the power of accountability, being accountable to people that are watching you. And I think, as we bring this podcast here to a close, like the power of accountability for what you guys are doing with the Bananas in terms of the entertainment, but the impact and getting people to really fall back in love with like baseball and fall back in love with what you guys are doing and being willing to bet on themselves. And I think all the players, some of these guys on the roster that I've had when they were in college and taking a look at these guys, and seeing them now step out of their comfort zone and do what they're doing, it's really cool, man. You're impacting a lot of lives. So thank you for bringing Banana Ball and what you keep doing, man. Keep betting on yourself.
I love it, man. Thanks for having me here too today. This is unbelievable. You've got an awesome compound. Everybody's got to come here to see it. And I love it. You're the man.
Appreciate it, TG. The compound is here. We're trying to take mental performance into the house. You guys are bringing Banana Ball to the world. If I could put the compound on wheels and drag it with me, I would. But trying to do it here where, it's interesting. I was traveling 250, 280 days a year before the pandemic and doing mental performance consulting, working with teams all over the place and loved it. And then when the pandemic hit, it was like, whoa, now what? Yeah. Moved into Zoom. And moving into Zoom, the consistency of going, I'll use Jim Schlossnagle as an example. When he was at TCU 06, 2020, he's still there. Mm-hmm. Pandemic hits. I've been going to campus 3-4 times, almost quarterly for 15 years. Pandemic hits. And I'm like, "Coach, I bet on myself." I said, we need to move this to 30 minutes a week, you and me. So you fill me on where the program's at, and I kind of help you navigate what you need to do to help guys mentally during this pandemic, and the team 30 minutes every week. And we started that in probably March when the season got canceled, I think, of 2020.
Yep.
And we have not missed a 30-minute session with a team from TCU to when he was at A&M to now when he's at Texas because of the consistency. And I think when you look at the mental game and the influence and the impact, there's a lot of impact from like going to a Bananas event and seeing that and experiencing that, and that one moment can change your life. Like I'm a big believer in the power of moments, right? Whether it be hearing you speak at a convention, whether it be listening to one podcast, whether it be picking up the book Heads Up Baseball like I did July 4th, 2000, and it changed the trajectory of my life. And there's also impact that can happen from just consistency and environment and accountability and being there. So, when you bet on yourself in those moments that can change your life, going to a conference, going to a seminar, picking up a book, but also bet on yourself of just the raw consistency. I do want to hear from you about routine and consistency and the impact that that has had on your life as you bet on yourself.
Yeah. To go back to 2011, I was coaching at East Central University, and my routine was to show up every single day for players. And I was 23 years old. They didn't have a full-time paid assistant. I was a grad assistant making $5,000, getting my master's degree in education. But the routine of showing up every single day with that energy, it didn't matter if it was 7 a.m. or 7 p.m., being around, being consistent with that. There's the compound effect that happens for a long period of time, right? And I read that book probably back in 2014, 15. That changed the game too as well. And the compact found, it's just 1% better every single day, right? 2011, I decided to take a bet on myself and move here to Phoenix, Arizona, because I thought it was the best place to do three things: learn, grow, and network. And those three things have been my guiding star since 2011. But what I started figuring out was routines was you have to get up earlier than everybody. I started teaching in the classroom at 8 o'clock in the morning at South Mountain. I had to get up at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning to set my day on the right pattern with all my execution. So I had to journal in the morning. I had to read in the morning. I call it monkey brain. You have to get everything out on paper. And what we do with the Bananas now is idea paloozas. So every day on Tuesday, we have an idea palooza. So you talk about routines. We do an idea palooza. We call it an OTT meeting, over the top meeting, every Tuesday. And that is our entire organization. So it doesn't matter if you're the Jesse Cole yellow tux guy that's coming up with 10 ideas every single morning since 2017, or you're the new intern that just came in. We want to hear what your idea is. And that's how a lot of our ideas show up in Bananaland. So we show up every single day, team meetings, OTTs. We take those ideas, we bring them to Wednesday's practice. We see them live. I think that's an important key. You can have an idea, but if you don't act on it and you don't figure out how to edit it, one of our principles with the Bananas is plus it. How do you plus it? How do you plus what you are currently doing? A lot of people get consistent with what they're doing, and they're like, okay, I'm good enough. How do you plus it? So you hear that throughout our entire organization. So you'll see that on Wednesday. We will do all the OTT entertainment ideas. They're usually pretty good. And then Thursday, we plus it a little bit more. Hey, what if we do this? Hey, what if we do this? What if we add this here? Friday comes along, game day. We rehearse for an hour on the field, usually at 1 p.m. for a 7 o'clock game. And we usually plus it there. You have 20 people with cameras and different ideas, and people go, hey, throw a glove on here, do this move here. And you come up with a product that, is some of the, I think we got some of the best dancing choreography in sports. It's crazy what our players are doing. Our guys that were first rounders, they're doing these dances, and then they're hitting a 500-foot bomb in game. That's pretty wild. But that's one of our routines, is those idea OTT paloozas. But it's that show up, be consistent every day. The compound effect's going to take care of it. And, that starts at the top. So if you're thinking about businesses, or you're thinking about being a head coach in any program around the country, you have to live it every single day. People are going to follow what you do. And Jesse Cole is that idea palooza vision guy. And literally he has a yellow book that he's wrote down 10 ideas every single day. And then he shows up and he's in the trenches. That's not a normal owner. His wife, Emily Cole, she's flipping burgers, taking out trash, making sure every 300 people in our organization now, They all have happy birthday messages going out. She's the heart of the Bananas. So it's easy to show up to work when you have owners that are in the trenches every day. And I call those foxhole guys, you know, who's in your foxhole, and Jesse Cole and Emily Cole are in my foxhole. And we got a lot of those foxhole guys in Bananaland. And I think that's why we're having success, because of not the craziness, because of the people. It's people over profits. It's playing the long game. It's showing up every single day and moving the needle. That's something I say every day. How do we move the needle today? It might be one little target. And so if you go back to those routines in the morning, set your tone, set your temperature. How are you going to win the day? I want to share something with you, Brian. This is something really important with me. That's been inspiring for me. In junior college, there was a poem called A New Day. I don't know if you've ever heard this poem. And my freshman year, our head coach, he was crazy. His name's Eric Myers. I wish I had another hour to tell you about crazy Eric Myers. But Eric Myers made us memorize this poem. It's called A New Day. And he told us the first day of practice, hey, memorize this poem. And then he didn't tell us anything else after that. 3 months later, we're doing morning weights at 4:30. We do a half-mile run. We go through an entire weight room circuit. The last thing we do is a ab circuit. And the last thing we do, period, is 6-inch leg holds. And everybody that's done 6-inch leg holds for a long time knows how those get. And before we could be done for the day, the entire team had to recite a New Day poem together.
Do you know it right now still?
Let me see if I can say it, because I read it every day. It's called A New Day. So this is the beginning of a new day. I've been given this day to use as I will. I can waste it or use it for good. What I do today is important because I'm exchanging a day of my life for it. When tomorrow comes, this day will be gone forever, having in its place whatever I've traded for it. I pledge to myself that it shall be gain not loss, good not evil, success not failure, in order that I shall not regret the price that I paid for this day. Amen. And when I say that and I read that every morning, I think about doing 6-inch leg holds. And we had to start over 11 times that morning. And I never forgot that poem after that. And I read it every morning. But that sets the tone. That's some of those routines. And we could go on routines all day, man. But that's a couple things that have impacted me over the years.
The beginning of a new day. Hartzell Wilson. I'm going to post that in here. That's fantastic. TG, once again, man, coming to a close for a second time. Thank you, brother.
Love you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.